All right, class, welcome back. We're going to go ahead and finish today with Unit 7, Section 1, Part 2, kind of finishing up the Articles of Confederation, our nation's first constitution, and going on with some problems that the Articles of Confederation posed for the brand new colonies of the United States. The Articles of Confederation had no provision for adding new states to the United States, and realized that we had to figure out something to deal with the western settlements that were occurring in the Ohio Valley, north of the Ohio River and east of the Mississippi River. And by 1790, 120,000 people lived in this area right here. And when the number of people in the district reached the population of the smallest state, you could apply for statehood, but you had to get the required population equal to the smallest population of the 13 existing colonies. Settlers had hoped to organize the lands and states to join the Union, thus increasing the size of the United States. Land claims were given up, and Congress took control of these lands. And Congress divided the Western Territory, and when we're talking the Western Territory, we're talking about all the lands here, west of the Appalachian Mountains, that the colonies had possessed. When the number of people in the district, like I said, reached the population of the smallest existing state, the district could petition for statehood. Next was the Ordinance of 1785. And the way they laid out this land in the Western Territory was in townships. That established a procedure for surveying and selling the land west of the Appalachian Mountains and north of the Ohio River. Each of these townships were 6 miles by 6 miles. So they were 36 square miles. Which each of the townships were divided into 36 sections. They would be sold at a public auction, and they would be governed the territory with new ordinances as they were needed. It created a single Northwest Territory, the ordinance did in 1787. Once again, it's this land north of the Ohio River and east of the Mississippi River. It divided these into three to five smaller territories. When the population reached 60,000, it could petition for statehood. Now that's different. In 1785, all you had to do was reach the smallest population of the smallest state. In 1787, you had to reach 60,000. Different requirement. Each state would have the same rights as the original 13 states as they entered. The Northwest Ordinance also had a Bill of Rights for settlers. It guaranteed freedom of religion and a trial by jury. Some of these basic English rights that were included in the English Bill of Rights, and also very valued by the colonists. Slavery was completely outlawed in this area. You could not have slaves in the Northwest Territory. And it was the very first attempt to stop the spread of slavery from the southern states. The Ordinance of 1785 and the Northwest Ordinance opened the way for settlement in the Northwest Territory, and it also provides a way for new states to be added to the United States. The country had many financial problems under the Articles of Confederation. During the Revolutionary War, they printed too much money. Money was printed, and the value of the money that was printed fell in value, depreciated. So it was almost worthless. They had a bunch of money that wasn't really worth anything. Taxes couldn't be collected because we had no mechanism for the government to collect taxes yet. So the states printed even more paper money, which was even more worthless. It was not backed by silver or gold, which is a standard for money at the time. There was a quote that used to be circulated. It was called "not worth a continental dollar," because the money was worthless. The reason why we had such a large debt is we borrowed a lot of money from France, our ally in the Revolution, and Spain, and they were wanting their money back, and we had no way to pay them back. Congress owed money to the American citizen of foreign nations, like I said, France and Spain. it still owed money to the soldiers who had served in the Continental Army. And states were not doing a very good job of sending money to Congress to help pay these bills. Robert Morris was a Philadelphia merchant that come up with a plan. He said, why don't we put a 5% import tax on all items coming into the United States and use this money to pay the debt. He also called for the Articles of Confederation to be changed so Congress could have the power to tax and produce, this is one of your old vocabulary words, produce revenue or money to pay bills. But Rhode Island, one of the original 13, refused to go along with this, and the movement died. And the financial crisis of inflation and us not being able to tax and get money for revenue continued. We also started to develop some problems with Britain, a country we just defeated in war. The British, after the Revolutionary War, did not leave the forts they were supposed to, according to the Treaty of Paris. England was not supposed to have any forts here, in this area, right here. But they maintained forts there. And also many Americans complained that they were keeping us out of the West Indies and other British markets, wasn't allowing us to trade and make money. So in 1785, we sent John Adams to London to discuss the problem with the British. The British wouldn't even really talk to us, actually, because they said we had lived up our side of the treaty. What we were supposed to do, according to the Treaty of Paris, is to repay the Loyalists for all the land that we had taken during the Revolutionary War. And of course, we know that many of the Loyalists were located right here in the southern colonies. We also had a lot of problems with Spain. Spain was always worried that, and if you remember, the way the United States is set up now, we have the Mississippi River here, we have the Appalachian Mountains here, the Ohio comes down out of the meets the Mississippi. They were worried that the U.S., the United States, was going to continue to move and settle even west of the land that we had already acquired. Spain owns all this land. And they were worried that we were going to move into their land. So what they did is they closed the Mississippi River to American shipping in 1884, creating a kind of a wall here to keep the United States from expanding past the Mississippi River. The Confederation could not deal with these problems because there was no executive branch in the Articles of Confederation. We had nobody even talk to Spain. These problems worried many of the leaders, and they saw that there was a need for a stronger government. So now they're going to start to sit down, guys, because of the fact that the Articles of Confederation did not have an executive branch. It did not have the power to tax. So therefore, it couldn't pay its bills. It couldn't maintain an army. And it really delegitimizes the United States at the time. So now there's a fervor and a movement going throughout the colonies that we're going to have to sit down and draft a good, concrete document that establishes a good federal government that has many branches that will serve in many different functions. And as we move on from the Articles of Confederation, we're going to start moving on and talking about our new form of government, our new Constitution, which is the living Constitution that we have today, which we will begin covering in future sections. Make sure you summarize this as you watch it. And if you've learned something new, tell me about it. If you still do not understand, also, that's one of your summary questions. Make sure you do so. I'll see you next time in Unit 7, Section 2 podcast. Take care.